He built a community of millions using nothing but his hands, a grill, and a kind heart. But only days after celebrating love, everything changed. Michael Duarte, the man the internet knew as Food with Bare Hands, wasn't your typical food creator. He was the guy who could turn a smoky backyard barbecue into a feeling of belonging. His laughter, his soot-stained aprons, his family-filled videos, they became comfort food for millions of viewers. And this week, that comfort turned into grief. Fans all over the world are still in shock. Duarte, the California-based creator who brought warmth and flavor into people's homes, has died in what authorities describe as a tragic accident while traveling with his family in Texas. Only a few days earlier, he and his wife Jessica had posted glowing anniversary photos celebrating 9 years of marriage. Smiles now frozen in time, captions that suddenly feel like farewells. His agency, friends, and followers are struggling to understand how the man who shared so much joy could be gone so suddenly. Before he became a viral sensation, he was simply a small-town cook with a dream. And the journey of how he built that dream, and how it ended too soon, remains both heartbreaking and inspiring. Behind every video, every burst of laughter, and every perfectly charred rib, there was a man who fought his way through darkness to create light. Tonight we remember how Michael Duarte, known to millions as Food with Bare Hands, turned struggle into purpose, and how his final days became a goodbye no one expected. To millions online, his name meant authenticity. He could make a steak sing and a simple recipe feel like home. He wasn't a television chef with studio lights or product sponsors flashing across the frame. He was genuine. His content made you feel like you could smell the smoke through the screen, ribs sizzling under a golden sunset, his daughter laughing nearby, his calm voice reminding you that food is meant to be shared, not just plated. That's what drew people in. Michael had a way of making every viewer feel like family. His fans weren't just numbers on a screen. They were guests at his virtual table. Every upload carried his gratitude, his humor, and the quiet pride of a man who built everything with his bare hands and his heart. There were no gimmicks, no over-editing, just sincerity, and a reminder that joy can be found in the simple act of cooking. But few knew how much he had overcome to reach that peace. Behind the smile was a story of struggle, redemption, and resilience, one that began in a dusty corner of Southern California. Michael Duarte grew up in Calipatria, a small desert town near the U.S.-Mexico border where family was everything, and the heat seemed to hum through the air. His uncle owned a modest Mexican restaurant, the kind of place where the aroma of grilled carne asada filled the streets. It was there, at only 14, that Michael discovered what he wanted to do for the rest of his life. He wasn't born into privilege or fame. He was born into kitchens, where the rhythm of chopping knives and the hiss of hot oil became music. His uncle taught him not just to cook, but to care. Not just to prepare food, but to make people feel welcome. That small restaurant became his classroom, his refuge, and his inspiration. As he grew older, Duarte carried that spirit into restaurant kitchens around San Diego. He worked quietly, no spotlight, no ego, just passion. He didn't crave attention. He craved the joy of watching someone's face light up after a good meal. Yet deep down, he wanted something more than steady paychecks and hidden effort. He wanted connection. No one could have guessed that this quiet kitchen worker, the guy who grilled for family on weekends, would one day become a face of comfort for millions. But then came 2020, and the world stopped turning. When the pandemic hit, Michael lost what he loved most: the rhythm of work, the noise of kitchens, the purpose. Like countless others, he found himself adrift. Restaurants closed, paychecks disappeared, and the familiar hum of daily life went silent. He opened up later about how deeply it affected him, how depression and anxiety took hold until he finally sought help, bravely checking himself into rehab. That decision became a turning point. Those who followed his journey didn't see a man broken. They saw one rebuilding. Coming out of treatment, Michael wasn't chasing fame. He was searching for peace. And somehow he found it again, right where it had all begun, behind a grill, With his hands covered in seasoning, smoke curling into the evening air, he started to heal. He found peace in the smoke of his grill. That's how one friend described it. For Michael, cooking had always been love. But now it was therapy. Each meal became a small victory. Each video a message of hope. When he finally picked up his phone to record again, it wasn't to impress anyone. It was to reconnect. The sound of sizzling meat, his daughter's laughter, the glow of a sunset, they became symbols of healing. And with that, Food with Bare Hands was born. He began modestly, a smartphone, a backyard, a grill, and a dream. Early videos showed him flipping tacos, ribs, and burgers, laughing as smoke drifted toward the lens. There were no sponsors, no lighting setups, just authenticity, the kind that makes people stop scrolling. Then came the video that changed everything. A simple clip of him cooking with his 6-year-old daughter, Oakley. The two giggled as they made burgers together, chatting about food like old friends. It wasn't staged. It was love captured in real time. That one moment went viral, and overnight, millions discovered the warmth of a dad just sharing joy with his little girl. Later, he wrote, "That's when I realized how happy creating content made me. It wasn't about numbers. It was about purpose." From then on, every recipe became a story. Glazed ribs symbolizing patience, tacos representing togetherness. His channel wasn't just about food. It was about life after pain. Within months, his following exploded across TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Brands came calling, fans poured in, and communities began recreating his recipes at home. People wrote messages saying his videos helped them cope with loss or loneliness. Families said his joy brought them back around the dinner table. But as his online presence soared, tragedy quietly approached. Only a few days before his death, Michael had celebrated his 9th wedding anniversary with Jessica. Their posts were full of gratitude, humor, and love, snapshots of a life built through storms and sunshine. Friends filled the comments with hearts. Nobody imagined those same hearts would soon be mourning him. Not long after, the family took a trip to Texas, a short getaway meant for rest and family time. Somewhere along that journey, an accident occurred. Details remain private, but friends described it simply as a horrible accident. In an instant, the laughter stopped. The shock spread like wildfire across the internet. Comments flooded in. "I can't believe he's gone," read thousands of posts. Fans, fellow creators, even strangers who'd only watched one of his videos, all shared the same disbelief. A GoFundMe page appeared soon after, reposted on Michael's Instagram. The words were raw. This heartbreak came without warning, leaving Jessica to face the costs of bringing him home and arranging the funeral. Please keep Michael's family in your prayers during this unimaginable time. Donations poured in from around the world. Every message, every dollar, every repost felt like a thank you note to a man who had given so much light to others. But perhaps the most powerful tribute came from his fans themselves. Instead of just mourning, they honored him. BBQ enthusiasts, chefs, and families around the globe fired up their own grills in his memory. Videos appeared online captioned simply, "For Michael." People shared clips of his recipes, stories of how he'd inspired them, and emotional comments like, "He taught me to cook with my dad again." Soon after, his agency, Aluma Media Group, released a heartfelt statement. "It is with great sadness that we share the passing of our dear friend and valued client, Michael Duarte. He was more than a creator. He was a loyal partner, a trusted collaborator, and a remarkable human being. His creativity, passion, and kindness touched everyone who worked with him. They called him a devoted husband, a loving father, and an inspiration to creators everywhere." Those who knew him personally echoed those words. They remembered how he would message smaller creators, offer tips, or simply encourage them not to give up. He believed success meant lifting others too. Michael Duarte wasn't chasing fame. He was sharing kindness. In a world full of comparison, he built a corner of warmth. Through every upload, he wasn't just feeding people's appetites. He was feeding their hope. He reminded the world that it's never too late to start over. that healing can begin in the simplest acts, like seasoning meat, laughing with your kids, or sharing a meal online. Even in his absence, Michael's spirit continues to ripple outward. Jessica and Oakley have vowed to keep his mission alive, to share food with people who need it the most. Those same words still rest in his Instagram bio, untouched, like a promise he left behind. Friends say Jessica hopes to continue the community food drives Michael dreamed of, the ones he wanted to organize once his brand became big enough to give back. Fans, too, have picked up his torch. Across social media, thousands began tagging their posts with "Yochun Cook with Heart," a phrase he often used to end his videos. Others shared how his openness about mental health gave them courage to seek help or reconnect with loved ones. His story has transcended the tragedy. It's now a message, one that says success isn't measured in followers, but in impact. Michael Duarte proved that even when life burns you, you can still rise, like smoke curling from a grill reaching toward the light. He fed the world with his hands, but it was his heart that nourished us all. His laughter, his warmth, his compassion, those will never fade. Rest in peace, Michael Duarte. Your fire still burns in every kitchen, every backyard, and every heart you touched.